I'm going to teach you how to write all the numbers in faux calligraphy, and for each number you will learn 2 styles. So for faux calligraphy you can use any type of pen or marker. I'm using the bullet tip of a tombow pen. You don't need any special calligraphy supply. And to get the look of calligraphy, we're going to be adding some thicknesses to certain parts of these shapes. So in this word numbers, you can see that some lines we've gone over twice to add some thickness. Now in this video I'm just going to demonstrate some numbers, like I said, and I'm not exactly going to go into the why and how and where to add all these lines. That will be covered in a lot of detail when we get to basic shapes and the letters. So starting with the number 1, the first style, which will be on the left, is going to be kind of a loose, flowy style, and one common characteristic between these numbers on the left is that they will have loose, wavy lines. So to start, I'm going to draw this entrance stroke and then a straight line coming down. And then I'm going to, at the base, draw a wavy line. So this by itself looks like a number 1, but to make it in faux calligraphy, I'm going to add a parallel line to the straight line that comes down. Now with faux calligraphy, you can either leave the gap open, like I have in this word numbers and like this is open now, or you can go back and fill it in with the same color. The second style on the right is going to be more sharp and maybe more rigid looking. I'm going to start down a little bit lower so that this entrance stroke is a little longer and come down again with a straight line. And the base of this one is just going to be straight. And then I'll add a parallel line to the first downstroke. For this 2, I'm just going to start with a loopy 2 that has a wavy line at the bottom. So made this little loop over here, and then I'm going to add my shading on the curve, and I'm going to try to follow the curvature of the line as I add my shade. And then to finish it off, I'm going to add this little dot right here, and we're going to see this dot in the rest of the numbers within this style. Second style, I'm going to start by making this spiral shape and then come over and down and to the left. So it kind of looks like a question mark. We're going to go down and then around in a spiral, and then once you get to this point, come out to the left so that it's lining up about with the left side of the top portion, and then come down. And then I'm going to make a compound curve, and the compound curve is going to be seen in a lot of these numbers on the right hand side. So to do that, I'm just going to go up, down, up. So it's kind of like this wavy line, except a little more dramatic in its waviness. And anytime we have this compound curve, we're going to add some shading on this piece that comes down in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to come back in and add some shading along this curve, kind of like we did over here, and then a little bit in the middle section, like that. In the first version of the 3, I'm going to make a small loop like we did in the 2 between the 2 curves of the 3. So there's the first top curve and then a little loop, and then finish at the bottom. And we're going to add a curved line along both the top and the bottom of these curves, and then finish with a dot. So for these numbers, you could see I just added one of these lines on the inside of the curve and one of them on the outside. You can do whichever one you want to make the number look more balanced. So maybe if you made the top curve too narrow, then you might add the shading on the outside. You can do it however you want. The next 3, we're also going to have this compound curve shape, but first I'm going to start with a little line that just goes down, and then I'm going to do my compound curve. So again, that goes up, down, up, and finish off my 3 by coming in and then making a curve like how we did on the bottom over here. And once again, I'm going to add some shading, add a parallel line on this part of the compound curve at the top, and add some shading on the curved part, and then just to balance it out a little bit, I'm going to add a little bit right there. For this 4, I'm going to come down and make that little loop that we've been seeing here and here, and then I'm going to extend this into the wavy line like we did for the 2. And then I'm going to draw my downstroke for the 4. And you'll notice here So I made a downstroke and then I added some thickness by making a parallel line that almost ended up turning into an elongated triangle. It comes together at a point at the top and then it's flat at the bottom. But you see right here, this line is going through the gap. So if you wanted to leave it open, then you would see this line going through. So you can either start and then stop here, make this shape, and then continue through, or you can make this shape first and then do the crossbar, which I'll show you for the second version. So for this one, we're going to start with our downstroke and then make this triangle shape. And then I'm going to start right here, come out to the left, and then we're going to go straight across, but I'm going to pick up my pen before I cross right through the gap. Finish it off. If you decided that you wanted to fill in these gaps, then it wouldn't matter if you crossed through it, but if you want to leave it open, then it might look nice if you leave the gap. To start the 5, we'll just make a short straight line and then curve to the right. And then at the top, we'll make a wavy line. Now I'm going to add some shade on my curve and then add a dot at the end. And you can leave it like that, or sometimes I like to add a little bit shading right there on this downstroke. The next 5 is going to start similar with a short downstroke, and then we'll make a curve, but we're going to continue and loop around a little bit on the inside. And then the top of it is going to be like the compound curve, like at the top of the 3 and in the 2. So I'm going to start here and go up, down, up. And then add our little piece of shading on the compound curve, add the shade on this part of the curve, and then like I did for the 3, I'm just going to add a parallel line on this piece to balance it out. We'll just start by making a regular 6 shape, and then I'm going to add a parallel line to the left-hand curve, and then up here I'm going to add my dot. For this 6, we'll start the same way with just a normal 6 shape, and we're also going to add the shading on the curved part, and then also a little bit on this curve, and then finally we'll bring this to loop around, but instead of adding a dot, you can either leave it as it is or add this piece like we did on the 5. The 7 is going to start with that long wavy line that we've used a couple times, and then we're going to make this elongated triangle downstroke shape. Add a dot right here. You can leave it like that or add a little crossbar through the 7. On this one, we're going to start the same way we did as the 3. So start with a little downstroke, make a compound curve. So again, we go up, down, up. And then same thing where we're going to make our elongated triangle shape and add the shading on the compound curve. This 8 is basically going to be 2 circles or oval shapes on top of each other, but for the top one I'm going to continue around and make my dot, and then I'll draw the oval underneath, and then for the shading we'll add it to the left-hand side of both of those shapes. And for this one we'll just make a figure 8 shape, but we're going to finish it by extending above, and then we'll add shading on the inside of the top part, and then on the left, and then on the bottom right. Okay, so this one we added shade on the left for both sides, but this one we're adding shade on the left and right. And then once again, I'm going to add a little bit of shading up here for balance like we did in the 6. This 9 is basically just an upside down 6. So I like to start by making the top part and then coming down. So it's just like an upside down 6. I'm going to add a dot right here and then follow the curve on the right. This 9 is just going to be an oval shape next to a stem. So for the stem, we're going to make this triangular shape, and then we'll add the shading on the oval part. And lastly, we have 0. So for this one, I'm just going to basically make an oval shape, but kind of like I did for the 8, I'm going to finish it off with a dot at the top. And then come back in and add a little bit of a shade. And lastly, for this oval, we'll just make a basic oval shape and then come back in and add our parallel curved line. So now we have all of the numbers in 2 styles of faux calligraphy.